David and everybody listening, we are excited and really sitting on the edge of our seats as we want to hear how Dennis is doing now that he has transferred and settled into this new amazing facility that he's been in for the last 2 weeks. And so, David, why don't you give us a quick update? I know you spent the week with your dad.
Yeah.
How is Dennis doing?
So he's doing really well. I think both physically and mentally, he's doing really well. It was really a pleasure from those who have visited him, like Sue, myself, some very close friends, to know that he's at a place that just is so concerned about his care. Not to say that the other places weren't, but this is just on another level. There's a certain culture at this facility where it just feels like every need, every potential need is met. The certain types of physical therapies that he's getting is just stuff that I hadn't seen prior. He spent a significant amount of time, the max amount of time that this facility allowed him to, off the ventilator last week, which was just so great. Spoke very clearly. Obviously, there's still room to go, but it gave us just a certain level of appreciation for him being there, as well as that he still can improve significantly despite the setbacks that he had had.
David, you mentioned being off the ventilator. And
Yeah.
so some of the last updates that we have given, Dennis was already mostly off the ventilator, but then he did get pneumonia and his health took a bit of a turn
Right.
a couple of weeks ago. And so then he went back on the ventilator. And so you're basically saying that is he kind of back at that baseline of breathing without the ventilator as he was before he got the pneumonia?
So I would say actually it's a little bit of an improvement. And what I mean by that is, without getting into the weeds, there's really three settings when you have a ventilator. One is to be completely off the ventilator, you're breathing on your own. One is full assist, where you don't want to be, and then one is sort of halfway. So he's really spending, what prior to his pneumonia, he was actually spending most of his time in that kind of middle area where he was getting some level of assistance. So this has been for 8 hours at a time, completely off the ventilator. And this is at a point where he can then speak while he is off the ventilator. And obviously, because it's Dennis Prager, that's his favorite mode. It's all of our favorite modes, but it's been really nice to see him appreciate where he's gotten to, especially given some of the setbacks that he had suffered, and also some sort of new realizations. And I'm not forcing him to come to realizations. So whenever he says anything to me, I'll listen. And he said one of the things that was very touching was, given all of the cards that he's received and the visitors that he's had, is, he said, Dave, I always knew that I was respected, but I didn't know how much I was loved until now. So, there's some nice moments of realizations of gratitude and love that he has had now, despite obviously suffering what he's suffering. But again, just feeling that he's at the place where he should be, with the right care, is for his family very comforting.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked a little bit how he's doing physically. I understand that he's breathing a little better. He's breathing more independently, so he's able to actually speak. Is he still being moved into a wheelchair? And
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're working on him doing physical therapy, etc. And so, how is he doing mentally? You talked a little bit about it, but the shift moving him out of California has been really tough on Dennis mentally because he loves being around his friends and his family. I mean, I can't visit with him anymore as frequently. And so, and as many of his best friends can't visit with him. And so he was concerned about that before we transferred him. How
Yeah.
how is he doing mentally now?
He had a little bit of a tough go at it. I won't lie. It was a challenge for him. I think there was this thought, okay, the closer you are to home, the closer you are to getting back to, some semblance of his normal life. And it became very clear that this was I kept on telling him, stop don't have first stage thinking, have second stage thinking, as Thomas Sowell would say, is think about the long term here. And if you want to get back to where we're all hoping you get to, that's going to have to get you out of California. There was just, we did everything. Sue did everything. The friends did everything they could to try to recreate the best facility possible, both at the facility he was at in California as well as at home. And it just became so abundantly clear to everybody that that was just not possible. So now at least we get to tell them, okay, you know what, we've had some setbacks, but you've never been at the best facility that exists out there, and now you are.
I know that when I spent hours with Dennis at the hospital while he was recovering and healing, there were all kinds of interesting things that come up. There's always something interesting that comes up around Dennis, and I'm curious now that you spent a whole week with him, now that he is talking again, just any fun stories that you can share with us from your experience there?
So we actually, yeah, it was very funny. We had this woman who came in. Again, the nurses are always in, the doctors are always in, but there was somebody who we had not recognized, who was on staff at this facility and came and just said, "Oh my God, I've been waiting, Dennis, to come and see you since you got here. You won't believe it. I'm from Brazil." This very sweet Christian Brazilian nurse. And said, I actually had never heard of PragerU or you. She said, PragerU, which I loved, or you before about a month ago. And the day before you came to this facility, I got an ad to sign on to PragerU. The first video I watched was about how Brazil went socialist, and it's so true. And I've been trying to tell people this, and you guys voiced it so well. And she was just so thrilled to be able to meet him. And she literally showed us the date of when she downloaded the PragerU
It was
app.
a total coincidence that she downloaded
Total
the app just
a
before
day
Dennis
before
arrived.
a day before
Wow.
we got there. Yeah.
Wow, that's
So
crazy.
that made me happy. It also made me happy to know, although we knew this, that he people know who he is there. And that's, I think, a
Yeah.
good thing. Some
Yeah,
maybe
in a
want
positive
to
way,
retain his
right?
anonymity, but there is good. One little funny tidbit is he's actually quite obsessed with hockey, the hockey playoffs. So it's the first thing he asks in the morning if he falls asleep the night before is who won the games. We watch the highlights, but we were watching full games at night every night. So, and just personally, it was very special to be able to spend that amount of time. It's rare that an adult son and his father get to spend so much quality time together.
Mm.
Uh, Again, trying to find, the positives in all of this.
Yeah. What is keeping Dennis going these days? What do you think, lifts his spirits and his mood, and just how is he distracting himself from the condition that
Yeah.
he's
I don't
in?
think he is. I think that's the change. I don't think he is distracting himself. I think he's fully aware of what's happening and understanding that a difficult moment or a difficult day or a few days um, is part of the healing process. It's not a linear path, and I know we've been saying that. It sounds very cliche, but in his case, with his level of injury, with his age, it really isn't linear. And there's something about the doctors being able to walk in, and every time they make a decision that doesn't go in concert with what our expectations might be, um, are is very helpful. And the fact is that he's very aware of the fact that that happens. He also is now kind of leaning on his beliefs his whole life, like not having expectations. Even though he says it, it's very hard to do that when you're in his state. And I think he really is sort of living his principles more so than ever before. We say we don't have expectations in life, but we do until it's a near impossibility to. So, it's, I guess, part of the healing process, not just the physical healing, but emotional and spiritual healing as well.
Right. Well, we're going to continue to pray for Dennis's healing, both spiritual and physical. And David and family, we're here for you, and we're grateful to all of you for taking care of our Dennis in so many ways. We all feel like we have a piece of Dennis in our hearts, and many of us feel so incredibly close to him. And so we just, again, we know that it's not just difficult for Dennis, but it's difficult for the entire family. Everybody's making big sacrifices, and we recognize that. And so our prayers are both to Dennis and to you and to the family, and of course to Sue Prager, who has been just a complete angel throughout this entire experience. And bless you, and thank you for sharing this uplifting update about your dad.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody for sending your letters and your notes, and so many of them get read, and he loves them. So thank you so much.